Hello and welcome to another episode of today's GK. I am Pooja Dwivedi, and in this segment today we are going to discuss about objective questions to help you crack prelims. So let's begin with the last segment's question, practice question. Consider the following statements. Sainik schools are under the administrative control of Ministry of Defence. All Sainik schools in the country will now be open for girls also. We have to select the correct statements. So Sainik schools, there are approximately 33 Sainik schools operative in India. And yes, they will be now open for girls also. So the second statement is correct. They do come under the Ministry of Defence. The first and the second being correct. The correct answer is option C. All Sainik schools in the country will now be open for girls also, and at present 33 Sainik schools are operating in the country. Sainik schools are run by the Sainik School Society, which is under the administrative control of Ministry of Defence, and the aim of establishing these schools was to prepare the students from an early age for their entry into the Indian Armed Forces. Moving on, Acetabularia 𝐥𝐢𝐬 recently seen in the news refers to which of the following? It refers to an algal species from the Andaman and Nicobar Island. After nearly 4 decades, a group of botanists from Central University of Punjab, Bhatinda, have discovered an algal species from the Andaman and Nicobar Islands called Acetabularia 𝐥𝐢𝐬, and measuring as small as 20 to 40 mm, the stunning bright green algae resembling an umbrella or a mushroom has grooves on its cap measuring 15 to 20 mm in diameters, and named after the imaginary sea mermaid. Acetabularia 𝐥𝐢𝐬 is very primitive and is a single cell organism. Moving on, consider the following statements regarding Maharaja Ranjit Singh. He was given the title Lion of Punjab, that is Sher-e-Punjab. He turned Harminder Sahib at Amritsar into the Golden Temple by covering it with gold. We have to select the correct statement. Yes, he was given the title Lion of Punjab, that is Sher-e-Punjab. And yes, the second statement is also correct. The correct answer to this question is option C, both 1 and 2. Recently, the Union Minister reacted sharply after a 9-foot-tall statue of Maharaja Ranjit Singh was vandalized by a member of radical outfit 𝐏𝐤𝐬 Pakistan at the Lahore Fort in Pakistan's Punjab province. Maharaja Ranjit Singh was born on November 13, 1780 in Gujranwala, now in Pakistan. Also, at that time, Punjab was ruled by powerful chieftains who had divided the territory into misl that belongs to sovereign state of the Sikh Confederacy that rose during the 18th century in Punjab region in the northern parts of India subcontinent after the collapse of Mughal Empire. Moving on, he was given the title of Lion of Punjab for his success in freeing Lahore, that was his capital, from the Afghan invaders. He turned the Harminder Sahib at Amritsar into Golden Temple by covering it with gold. Moving on to the next question, consider the following statements. The Doha talks is the first ever meeting between the Taliban and the Afghan government. It was in the Doha talks where the US administration promised to withdraw all the American troops from Afghanistan by May 2021. We have to select the correct statement. As the largest and the capital city of Afghanistan fell into the hands of Kabul, we saw the President Ashraf Ghani fleeing from his country and the non-performance of the US-trained Afghan army. So, the Doha talks is not the first ever meeting. The Murray talks were, which were there in the year 2015. But this did not progress. After that, when Doha talks occurred, it was promised by the US administration that they would withdraw the troops before May 2021. So the correct answer to this question is option B. Recently, the Taliban seized Kabul and the capital city of Afghanistan, which raises question over the US and NATO trained Afghan forces. Peace talks between Taliban, Afghanistan and USA are such. In 2015, the US had sent a representative to the first ever meeting between the Taliban and the Afghan government that was hosted by Pakistan in May 2015, and it did not progress. In 2020, before the Doha talks started, the Taliban had maintained that they would hold direct talks only with the US and not with the Kabul government, which they did not recognize actually. In the agreements, the US administration promised that it would withdraw all American troops from Afghanistan by 1st of May 2021 And after that, when the change of administration occurred, the Biden administration did say that if the Taliban will not resort to violence, they would withdraw their troops by September 2021. And as we can see, how that did not come to fruition. Moving on to the next question with reference to the census in India, consider the following statements. The 𝐸 included comprehensive data pertaining to population, industry, wealth and many other characteristics, and the first census of India was conducted during the reign of Governor General Lord Mayo. The census in India is conducted by the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. We have to select the correct statement. Yes, the 𝐸 included comprehensive data pertaining to population, industry, wealth and many other characteristics. Also, the first ever census of India was conducted during the reign of Governor General Lord Mayo. And the census in India is not conducted by Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, but comes under the Ministry of Home Affairs. So the first and the second being correct, the third being incorrect. The correct answer is option B, 1 and 2 only. In India, census is conducted every decade, and census 2021 will be the 16th national census of India. Census will be conducted by the Ministry of Home Affairs. The earliest literature, Rig Veda, reveals that some kind of population count was maintained during 800 to 600 BC. During the regime of Mughal King Akbar, the administrative report 𝐸 included comprehensive data pertaining to population, industry, wealth and many other characteristics, and the first census was conducted in 1872, although non-synchronously in different parts. During the reign of Governor General Lord Mayo, that means it was conducted on a very local scale. In 1881, a full-fledged census was conducted. Okay, moving on, the newly established Office of the Registrar General and Census Commissioner launched and completed the first census of India in 1881. Can you tell me which Governor General was posted in 1881 in the comment segment? Okay, let's move forward and talk about our next question. Consider the following statements. Remission of duties or taxes on export product is not compliant with the WTO and hence replaced by the Merchandise Exports from India scheme. Under the RoDTEP scheme, exporters receive refunds of the embedded taxes and duties previously non-recoverable. We have to select the correct statement. The remission of duties or taxes on export product, it was launched in the year 2019 and it was compliant with the World Trade Organization rules, and hence it replaced the Merchandise Exports from India scheme. Okay, it wasn't replaced, it replaced the. Okay, and yes, the second statement is correct. The correct answer to this question is option B, that is 2 only. Let's look at the explanation. Recently, the government announced rates of tax refunds under the Export Promotion Scheme RoDTEP for 8,555 products such as marine goods, yarn, dairy items to boost exports. The remission of duties and taxes on exported products scheme was announced in 2019 by the Government of India. It is compliant with the WTO and hence replaced the Merchandise Exports from India scheme. Under the RoDTEP scheme, exporters receive refunds on the embedded taxes and duties previously non-recoverable. Moving on, consider the following statements with respect to coastal erosion. The West Bengal coastline has witnessed highest vulnerability. 90% of the coastline of West Bengal underwent erosion between the years 1990 to 2018. We have to select the correct statement. The first statement is definitely correct that the West Bengal coastline has witnessed the highest vulnerability, but it is 60% of the coastal erosion that has taken place and not 90% between the years 1990 and 2018. So the first statement is correct, the second is incorrect. The correct answer is option A. As much as 32% of India's coastline underwent sea erosion and 27% of it expanded between 1990 and 2018, according to a recent technical report by the National Center for Coastal Research. It comes under the Ministry of Earth Sciences. The West Bengal coastline has witnessed highest vulnerability and 60% of the coastline underwent erosion during the period, followed by Puducherry, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Gujarat, Daman and Diu, Odisha, Karnataka, Maharashtra. And Odisha coast expanded by 51%. Moving on, consider the following statements with respect to United Nations Children Fund. And it was created in 1946 as the International Children's Emergency Fund, that is ISEF, by the UN Relief Rehabilitation Administration to help children affected by World War II. Became a permanent part of the UN in 1993 and it is guided by the Universal Declaration on Human Rights. We have to select the incorrect statement. The first statement is correct, that it was created in the year 1946 as the International Children's Emergency Fund by the UN Relief Rehabilitation Administration to help children affected by World War II. Now, it is guided by the Convention on Child Rights 1989. Third statement is incorrect. The second statement is also incorrect because it became a permanent member of the UN in 1953 and not 1993. Okay, so the correct answer is option as we had to select the incorrect statement, the second and the third, right? So the correct answer is option C. Taliban representatives in some parts of Afghanistan have expressed support for educating girls after they seized control of the country, and the UN Children's Agency that said on Tuesday. United Nations Children's Fund is a special program of the UN devoted to aiding national efforts to improve the health, nutrition, education and general welfare of children. It was created in 1946 as the International Children's Emergency Fund by the UN Relief Rehabilitation Administration to help children affected by World War II, became a permanent part of United Nations in 1953 and guided by the Convention on the Rights of the Child 1989. Moving on, Hirakud Dam, recently seen in the news, is built on which river? It is built on the river Mahanadi. Okay. Moving forward, the Odisha Forests and Environment Department is all set to begin Island Odyssey and Hirakud cruise ecotourism packages for tourists to islands inside the reservoir when COVID-19 restrictions are lifted. Cattle Island, one of the 3 islands in Hirakud reservoir, has been selected as a sightseeing destination. Hirakud Dam is built across the Mahanadi River, close to Sambalpur city in Odisha in India. It is a composite structure of earth, concrete and masonry. It is the longest major earthen dam in India. It is one of the first major multi-purpose river valley projects started after India's independence and began operation in 1957. With successful irrigation provided by the dam, Sambalpur is now known as the rice bowl of Odisha. Moving on, consider the following statements with respect to tribunals. Tribunals were not part of the original constitution. It was incorporated in the Indian Constitution by the 44th Amendment Act of 1978. Article 323A deals with administrative tribunal. We have to select the incorrect statement. So, if you have seen today's in news, you will be able to answer it correctly. Tribunals were never a part of the original constitution. It came into being by the 42nd Amendment Act of 1976. So, the second statement is incorrect. And yes, there are 2 articles with respect to tribunals, 323A and 323B. 323A do deal with administrative tribunals, whereas 323B deals with tribunals related to other matters such as taxation, land sealing, and industrial and labor reforms like that. Okay, so we have to select the incorrect statement. The incorrect is the second one, that is option D. Chief Justice of India N.V. Ramana's remarks questioning the law passed last week relating to the process of appointment of tribunal members has triggered a fresh standoff between the legislature and the judiciary over the powers of and limitations on lawmaking. Tribunals were not a part of the original constitution, incorporated by the 42nd Amendment Act of 1976. There are 2 articles as I already told you about, so we shall move forward. Consider the following statements with respect to earthquakes. The point where the energy is released is known as the epicenter. Deep earthquakes are produced in the Vedati-Benioff zone. The Alpide earthquake belt, mid-continental belt, extends from Java to Sumatra, through the Himalayas, the Mediterranean, and out into the Atlantic. We have to select the correct statement. The point where the energy is released is called the hypocenter and not the epicenter. Okay? And deep earthquakes do get produced in the Vedati-Benioff zone. And if we talk about the Alpide earthquake belt, this extends from Java to Sumatra through the Himalayas and Mediterranean Sea and then goes into the Atlantic. So, the second and the third being correct. The first being incorrect, we had to select the correct statements. The correct answer is option B, 2 and 3 only. More than 9,900 people were wounded when the quake struck the southwestern part of Haiti on Saturday, about 100 miles to the west of the capital Port-au-Prince, according to the updated count. Haiti's unique geology makes it seismically active and prone to devastating earthquakes located near the intersection of two tectonic plates, namely the North American plate and the Caribbean plate. The point where the energy is released is called the focus of an earthquake. Alternatively, it is called the hypocenter, and the point of the surface nearest to the focus is called the epicenter. It is the first one to experience the waves. It is a point directly above the hypocenter. So this is the surface of the earth. Here the earthquake is originated. This is known as the hypocenter or focus, and this will be the epicenter, which gets the first waves of it. Okay, let's move forward. The point on the surface, we have discussed this. Moving on, deep earthquakes, that is 300 to 700 km, are produced in the Vadati-Benioff zone, and the Alpine earthquake belt, mid-continental belt, extends from Java to Sumatra through the Himalayas, the Mediterranean, and out into the Atlantic. Let's look at our practice question. Consider the following statements. National Bio-Entrepreneurship Competition is a joint initiative by the BRAC and CCAM, that is Center for Cellular and Molecular Platforms. NBEC is held once in every 2 years and gives an unprecedented sum of rupees 8.5 crore in cash prize. We have to select the correct statement. So, that's it for today. Tomorrow we shall meet again with another segment. Until then, stay updated and thank you so much for watching.